In this episode, in this discussion, I brought in somebody that was really interesting and special. I think you guys are going to really enjoy him. And his name is Bertrand, or something to
Yes.
that effect.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, I'm not French. Anyway, so Bertrand was the gentleman, and I believe my superior. I mean, he can clear that out up a bit more. When I was on the station of Mimus, and we were in a discussion with a race of beings that we had the Dark Fleet had gone to their planet to pretty much they wanted to trade with them. I believe it was some quartz crystals. I don't remember exactly. Bertrand, you might remember more. But then the Dark Fleet, because they didn't want to work with them, this race didn't want to work with the Dark Fleet because they were part of the Confederation of Planets and they were trying to work with the good side, the benevolence. So they refused them. And then the Dark Fleet, which were from Earth, decided to attack them and take what they wanted anyway and killed about 300,000 of them. So there we are in this in a boardroom on the space station of Mimas, and there were three of us on one side of the boardroom table, and there was at least two sitting down, and I think there was somebody standing up behind them. I don't recall 100% that part. But then I was sitting to one side, and then to my left was Bertrand, and then next to him was somebody else, and I don't know who that was. And then pretty much what happened was this particular race doesn't get emotional. They're kind of neutral. They're what we consider tall grays. They're not malevolent grays. They're biological gray, and they were trying their best not to be too upset about the fact that 300,000 of them had been killed. And they didn't feel like they were getting their point across because I was there as an empath and telepathically able to connect with them. That was basically my job all the time. I would sit in meetings and monitor how they're going from the other side and turn to people like Bertrand and tell them how it's going. And if I feel like that they're getting upset or if points are getting across and just trying to keep an emotional balance. So we weren't really at first weren't really doing too well because they were doing their best not to be too upset, considering the circumstances, and they felt like Bertrand was not quite understanding them emotionally, what they were going through, and then uh, that one gentleman that was directly across from me just wiped his hand across my chest or his chest. And this beam, like this green light, came out of like where a heart would be, and it hit me in the shoulder here, knocked me back, and killed me. And then I was out of it after that. I didn't know anything for a couple of days because I was transferred into a clone to save my life. And that's kind of the framework of the story. Um, and I really wanted Bertrand to come on so that we could kind of sit and have a discussion, about it. And because there's information, because he sent me an email 2, 3 years ago, and he described the scene of things that I'd never mentioned publicly. And gosh, I think it's you, and that's where we became connected. So anything you have to add at the moment, Bertrand?
Yes.
Yeah.
To start, I may present a little myself with the SSPs for people to understand what I'm doing in this story. Uh, just like you, I think I spent around 60 years in the SSPs because I have a memory talking with the military, high-ranked military in a corridor in the spaceship. It was really bright white, and my reaction was 40 years. And in fact, he was asking me to reconduct my contract, uh, and it was not 20 and back, it was 40 years for once. And at the same time, there was a blonde woman coming at us, uh, and she told me, please, we won't succeed without you. When I think about this now, I tell me, come on, tell this to everyone. And she already stepped back because telepathically she already knows that I confirmed I was agreed. I agreed. So it was at least 60 years in the SSP. And I have another memory where I lead militaries. I lead a team, and another memory where I wear a black suit, a thin black suit with silver Pegasus on the chest on the left. So it was part of the Pegasus project. Um, and what I wanted to tell before, it, I I had a specific body in the SSP. You talked about the pink gel, pink purple gel. It talks to me, but I don't have bright memories about that. And I remember seeing, assisting of the creation of body. It was made about this DNA and looked like me, but the body was bigger, stronger, very tall. It was specific for the mission. No. And in the Mimas story, I am in this body. And for me, the memory of the Mimas story starts in the corridor. I am walking relatively fast, and I was very serious. I was in front. In fact, just like you told, uh, we were three people, and I believe the third one was a high-ranked military in the military suit,
Mhm.
and uh, you, Chris, were briefing us about the mission, and um, we were already feeling the tension. It was electrified. I
Yeah.
remember there was a red light all around the corridor, and we were moving fast. And the next scene I have is in the room, uh, and I'm just on the left of the room, just near a wide window, uh, and we could see the space outside. And there was a large oval table
Mhm.
between us and them. I think they were three people like us, and you told me they were tall, but I was myself very tall, so I don't have the perspective. And And at that moment, I was telling them that it wasn't our fault because it was a malevolent faction of humans, and it was different than us. Uh, because it was about thousands of people that died.
Yes.
And I remember there was about mining resources. I
Mhm.
wonder if we didn't see the mining things uh, outside the window. Uh,
Mm.
uh,
That's interesting. That I never quite remembered that, but when you said it, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah. Because it was a whole mining scenario that was problematic at the beginning. Anyway, there was some mineral, or I still think it was quartz or some crystal or something that they
yes.
were mining. I just don't remember exactly.
And
Yeah.
the next scene I have, because it's not continuous, all my memories, it's some parts,
Little
uh,
fragments. Same with
fragments,
me.
exact. And at that time, we are all sat, and you are on my right, the military guy is on my left, and you were talking to me. I don't know if it was loud or telepathically, because I was also telepathic, uh, and you you were giving me a piece of advice to about the emotions and the fact they lost a lot of people and these kind of things. But I was myself very strict and serious because I remember I was also trained to not be emotional, because in the battlefield, if you are, the enemy can read you totally, and and that's a reason why I wasn't in in this kind of position.
Yeah, I knew that. I remember that. Um, and I remember the reason that because these were tall beings, they were like 7-ish feet tall. They were tall and thin, but they were tall. And we were feeling like they would relate to you more because you were the tallest, biggest person in the
Yeah.
room. Certainly bigger than I was. And I think that's why we were having you know, have them directing information at
Yes,
you. And then
it
I'm just
was.
sitting there and I'm thinking, oh, you're not coming through the way they need you to right now. Because I remember you were very serious, you know.
I think I have the feeling I was sent to this mission because it was very critical, and my position was dissuasive. I don't know if it's a good term, dissuasive.
I'm sorry, I missed the term.
No, um, no, it's not.
Yeah, my apologies. I just
Not
didn't.
not to afraid them, but to impose my presence.
Oh, not to be imposing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I remember the next thing you were speaking continuously to me for a lapse of time, and they were waiting me to speak because I think I was leading the the mission on this
Yeah.
time, and that's the moment of where the one of them get upset. Uh, and I remember he stepped back, and I don't know if it was on his chest or his belly, but he like scratch with his hand, uh, making around. Uh,
Okay.
and that's the moment a beam, a laser beam, came out of him and touched you. And it was like shut the F up because he wanted to stop you saying what you were saying, or let me speak. I don't know exactly
Yeah.
the reason, but he was really pissed off and wanted to stop you. And
Yeah. I
and
don't remember exactly why either. I just remember the emotion. It's
yeah,
just that he was having a hard time the whole time. He was having such a hard time. I felt bad for him, actually.
yes,
He was doing everything he could not to lose his mind, basically, in the moment. And then he wasn't feeling like he was getting what he needed from us. And and then suddenly he just, I just remember doing this. Who knows? Because I got shot immediately after,
yeah,
so my memories could be a little bit off. But he did something, and then I remember it being a green kind of a beam. Did you
I don't
remember
know.
that? You don't?
I know because my memory sometimes is in black and white.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have always colors.
Oh, I always have high definition. It's I have all the colors, the textures. It's a good and bad thing, really, because sometimes it overwhelms the brain. But yeah, and so
When you say that, I remember the room was very dark.
because they were low light, they didn't like
Yeah,
a lot of light. Yeah, it hurt them. Their eyes, because they're also their faces were oriented sort of not like flat on like ours. It's more like that.
yeah,
You know, um, and it was kind of imposing, intimidating because they're so tall and they're looking down at you. It's a little bit frightening. Because I did a drawing of one of this guy actually,
yes.
and I didn't draw his face because he asked me not to because he didn't want to scare humans.
As you told me before, they had nasty faces.
Yeah,
You
we
were a bit
certainly would
frightened.
be afraid
Yeah,
looking at them, but it's not that they're bad people or bad race. They look scary.
yeah,
Yeah, so they didn't want to show that. But then, as I recall, when I was hit with the beam, laser, whatever it was, this
yeah,
light, and it just knocked me down. I fell backwards, as I recall, and I was lying there, and then everybody kind of pulled the chair out from under me, and I was laid flat. I don't know if it was you, but I feel like other people came in the room immediately after
yes.
that happened. There's like two, three people in black, all black, or dark gray or something, and then they kind of like pulled me away a little bit.
You were evacuated. Yeah,
Yeah. And then I died at that moment. I didn't die immediately. And then the next thing I remember is after a couple of days when you came in the room, I was in the hospital bed or, infirmary, and you came and sat on the mattress. That's the next thing I remember,
yeah.
So I don't know from your perspective what happened after I fell back.
I know you were evacuated, and we continued the negotiation. Uh, but I remember at the time you were shot, I was already moving, just like to hit back, because I was in my special body and formed in the training to respond in this kind of occasions.
Yeah.
So I was already moving, and they change immediately their mind, and they were sorry for what happened and confused.
Immediately.
And,
Yeah.
immediately, it was like that, and that's what uh, helped us to conclude the negotiation. I don't have the terms of the negotiation. I don't have this sequence, this part, but that's what I told you when I came to the infirmary. I remember being in the corridor, uh, like in the spaceship I described at the beginning. It was bright white, and at the door there was a soldier on the right, and I told him to leave and leave us. So I entered in the infirmary, and you were sat on the bed on the right, and that's the moment I explain you how it ends, and thanks to what happened, we succeeded the negotiation, and it was a good end all over.
Ultimately. Yeah, because they were going to send ships or something, as I recall, to Earth.
I
They were
don't
like on
have
their
this
way.
memory.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember the details of that. I don't think they ever made it. I think we came to an agreement prior to anything actually happening, but they were on the verge, of breaking and then coming to Earth and exacting revenge on, you
Yeah,
know,
I really remember it was critical, so, and that's why we were very serious and concerned by this operation.
yeah. Yeah, it was quite a harrowing experience. It
Yeah,
really was. And when I received the email from you and you were sharing some details, some of which you shared today, I'm like, oh my God, this is the guy that was right next to me.
yeah, I remember I sent you a picture of me and asked you in the first time, do you recognize me? And you told me you do look familiar, but can you give me some details?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then
And
you came back with what you remembered, some of what
yeah.
you remembered, and I'm like, oh my God, it is him. And it was funny because until you said it today, I didn't connect it. You said that you had another body, a larger,
Yeah,
stronger version. And I just remembered you being a really large person.
yes,
I mean, muscular and tall. And and I remembered it was, I don't remember uh, accents or anything like that. I think, I don't really know. Those things are kind of hard to remember for me anyway.
yeah,
But I just remember that you had a real presence because of your size, and that was what we were going after in the meeting, so that this taller race could maybe relate more to you. Yeah, and so
yes,
yeah, so it was so fascinating to be able to connect, and then have some corroboration because of the memories I had, and I know people, not everybody's going to really believe all of what we have to say, but that's okay.
that's part of the thing.
And it is pretty wild, you know,
Yes,
and then bringing his memories in, and that's one of the first things people like you and myself and others have to do, is to accept the truth, accept
yes.
that these are memories, they're not dreams,
But
because I used to think they were dreams.
if people come to your channel to hear these kind of stories, uh, there is already something that link them
Mm.
to all this field of information, I want to say.
They're drawn to it for a reason. You're
Yeah,
right. Yeah, because there's something inside that sounds familiar or correct.
yes,
Even if it's wild, I just tell people, I don't say what I say to be believed. I say this all the time. I don't say what I say to be believed. I say what I say to be heard because someday it might benefit you, even if it doesn't right now.
And
And so that's just kind of my credo.
it can trigger memories from people. I know when I watch testimonies of all SSP's person, I have a link uh, in almost every person. Uh, and if I read books, just like David Rousseau, Jean-Charles Moyen, you know them, and every time I have a link in the story with us. That's a special thing that we share a common story that is complete, and that's the awesome thing because I have also others' memories on other lives or in ships. I know a person, a woman, and I met her. Uh, she was in a Andromedian body. I believe it's in the XL6 ship, and each of us have the story from our perspective, and we share everything and what we see, what happened, and that really the important thing for me is to cross the stories, and it's like layer cake. It begins to take form, to take a shape when we multiply on the experience and experiences.
Yeah, well, absolutely. But I think that if it doesn't do anything but help calm the mind of the other person, it's worth it,
Yeah,
because they don't feel crazy or alone, because so much of my experience, I felt crazy, especially as a young kid. I'm like, I literally thought I was nuts. But I realized, once I accepted that these were memories, that these things were real, they really happened, then things kind of calmed, and then other memories began to come through,
yeah,
because then I was able to accept them, you know.
yeah.
But it takes a bit, and it takes courage, and I thank you for coming on and for telling the story, because it takes courage to do that,
In
and
English,
English
it's not easy
especially.
for me.
I know. Yeah, so it's a double struggle for you, and thank
It's,
you. But you did beautifully. You did
yeah,
beautifully.
thanks you, thanks.
But okay, so I think we'll say goodbye then.
Yeah,
Don't hang up. I'm just gonna stop recording
yes.
right now. But I just want to tell everybody goodbye and thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.